Plans for a new Centennial Bridge. What are the choices for the cities? The 3,800-foot-long Centennial Bridge links downtown Davenport with downtown Rock Island. It is a signature bridge. The arches are the backdrop to modern Woodman Ballpark and countless logos for governments, businesses, and organizations that all call the city's home. First opened in 1940, the 85-year-old bridge is now being considered for replacement, but not before residents have their say. We talked with Illinois Transportation Department Studies Engineer Michael Kuehn about this historic bridge and what's being considered for its replacement. Michael, thank you very much for joining us. Tell me a little bit about why the Centennial Bridge is in need of replacement right now.
Sure. So the Centennial Bridge was built in 1940. It was originally a tollway bridge between Rock Island and Davenport. In 2005, the bridge was actually turned over to the Illinois and Iowa Departments of Transportation to take over maintenance and control of the bridge. We're looking at an 85-year-old bridge at this point in time. Over the past 20 years, both DOTs have put millions of dollars into the structure, and we've been repairing it on a semi-annual basis. In 2024, we decided, instead of doing this on a every other year basis and try and repair it, we wanted to come up with a longer term solution. So we started this study that we've been in progress with since 2024 to determine, what do we want to do here? Do we want to keep doing what we've been doing? Do we want to do a more in-depth rehab? Do we want to look at reconstruction out here or a realignment? So the past 2 years, we've had 3 public meetings, had numerous community advisory groups and technical advisory groups and stakeholder meetings, and really been asking, what the community is looking for with this bridge structure and if the existing structure would meet those needs. What we found with the first 2 meetings is that there are a lot of needs that aren't being met with the structure. Again, it's an 85-year-old structure, so it does need a lot of work. And even with a rehabilitation, it's never going to be able to accommodate some of the needs that are out there today. So that's realistically what we presented in the public meeting on May 20th was what we're looking to proceed forward, what we're looking to not proceed forward with. And the big thing that we noted was that realistically, rehabilitation doesn't seem like the most feasible approach to it. Again, being that it's an 85-year-old structure, it has only so much that we can do to widen it. We cannot add capacity for it as far as removing the weight restrictions. Bike and ped accommodations are very limited in what we can do with the existing structure. So we are with FHWA approval, looking at 2 alternatives for reconstruction, and we do have also the no build alternative, which is basically stay status quo.
And that's always, one of the options is to keep it at status quo. When you talk about the Centennial Bridge, it's also such a steep entry into Davenport, as well as the fact that it is such a cramped 4 lanes that are on that bridge. Was that something also that you looked at, is the fact that it just doesn't meet the needs of the modern traveler?
That's exactly some of the things that we are looking at. We heard a lot about safety, the on-ramp on the Illinois side, concerns with merging there. We did have a fatality on the bridge, because there is no refuge if you break down. we have speed concerns out there that the public has noted. So yeah, the footprint of the existing bridge doesn't allow for wider shoulders or to allow for more room to accommodate other facilities like a multi-use path. So it is one of many things that we're informed about and we saw with our on it. So yeah, all these are reasons that we're looking at alternatives such as a realignment of either next to the existing bridge or a couple blocks down.
Well, and as you well know, I mean, we're just getting used to the new I-74 bridge, and that was an iconic bridge. That was also very narrow and didn't meet interstate standards. Not that the Centennial Bridge is an interstate, of course, but we kind of look at that is that it is an iconic bridge. I mean, the Quad Cities has so many logos, so many illustrations that involve the Centennial Bridge. How can you replace a bridge that's that iconic and not meet opposition?
That's been one of our big things that we've been looking at as well. You know, with our community advisory group, we did have multiple historic districts involved. You know, like you noted, you know, logos on the community's letterhead have that bridge shown on it. You know, every restaurant in the downtown area has a picture of that bridge on it. You know, the one thing we're going to have to do with replacing the bridge is somehow pay homage to the existing bridge, and as we carry forward, try and put some of those elements into the new bridge. We've heard some feedback from people on different things we can do to pay homage to the bridge. You know, again, you know, we'll document the existing bridge extensively as well, and try and keep detailed records of the bridge, video it, and everything else for future generations. But one thing that people brought up in the public meeting the other day is, you know, is it possible to take one of the existing arches, place it in one of the local parks like Schwiebert Park? That's certainly something we can look into, and does seem like an excellent idea to help keep the spirit of that bridge alive. At the same time, looking at any new structure, we're going to want to do the same thing, pay homage to the existing structure while still getting these new accommodations.
Well, as you may remember, when there's discussion of the I-80 bridge, which is going to be replaced, there was an entire push to have a bison bridge and have homage to some of the past history of the Quad Cities. When the I-74 bridge was being dismantled, there was a push to keep part of that perhaps as an overlook over the slough area, or keep it as a separate bike path. Is it possible that the Centennial Bridge would be maintained perhaps as a walking bridge or a bicycle bridge, or is it just too expensive to maintain that?
So as far as the departments of transportation go, and again, this is a group effort on it, both Illinois and Iowa. Maintain the bridge, you know, pay for the maintenance and construction of any bridge that crosses the Mississippi. You know, we want to maintain one bridge structure. You know, certainly if there were other parties interested in keeping the existing bridge, we would certainly be willing to convey that over. We have reached out to the locals, both on the Rock Island, Davenport side, but there was no interest in taking that over. You know, this is an expensive structure to maintain. You know, even as a pedestrian bridge, it does need some constant maintenance and upkeep on it. So it's not a cheap item to have. So from our standpoint, if there's an interested party, we'd certainly be willing to entertain the idea. But at this point, you know, maintaining two structures, just exclusively one for the existing for a pedestrian, is a little more expensive than what would be prudent for taxpayer funds.
It appears that of all the options that are being discussed or considered, the one that involves 11th Street extending to the river and then the bridge going over the Mississippi to Marquette Street in Davenport is the one that has some real support. Is that the favored route right now?
At this point in time, there's two different alternatives. Again, with the no build in there as well. E2, which is our build adjacent to the existing bridge, has a lot of support as well. E7 is that Marquette to 11th Street you were talking about. Both alternatives have their pluses and minuses on it. Realistically, from a standpoint of minimal impacts to the adjacent community, E2 really has a leg up on E7, which is the Marquette to 11th Street. We'd be impacting less adjacent properties. It would still keep the bridge as close to the existing location as possible. So, even with a new structure and a different silhouette out there, you would still have the bridge in the same location. So local folks that would be walking back and forth would still have that same ability to walk back and forth. The touchdown points would also be the same. So there's benefits with that. On the 11th Street and Marquette bridge option, there has been some talk about future development out there and economic opportunities. So that's a plus on that side for the local communities. At the same time, we'd be impacting far more properties, residential areas, and disadvantaged communities, which that definitely does give us pause on that alternative. We certainly don't want to be impacting a bunch of homes, business, or a bunch of homes in an area. And if there's concerns that we are impacting that community, that is definitely a major concern of ours as well.
We are a community that is made of bridges, and like we were saying earlier, the I-74 bridge replaced, and now work is going on the I-80 bridge. Explain to me how the I-80 construction would impact your timeline for the Centennial Bridge.
Sure. So we are trying to develop plans for all the different projects in the area. Even predating the I-80 bridge, we have the I-74 reconstruction with John Deere Road, where we're converting the clover leaf there to a diverging diamond interchange. That's actually going out this fall for letting, so construction will start next year to reconstruct 74. That'll get constructed next year and into 2028. In 2028, we're going to start work on the off alignment bridge for I-80. So that'll be going on for several years, and any reconstruction of a Centennial Bridge would happen after I-80 has been completed. So that puts us in the 2031, 32 range for that. But these are all stacking up on each other, and we want to make sure that there's still ample access to the Quad Cities area as we develop these on. And realistically, things are timing out pretty nicely right now for us.
The other thing is that, to the best of my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that most of the time, if there is an interstate construction, you have to keep the interstate open to some extent. But the Centennial Bridge is not an interstate. If you were to choose the 11th Street Marquette Street location, that would have less of an impact in the downtown area. If it's going to be constructed near the Centennial Bridge, would the Centennial Bridge have to close during that construction period?
We would maintain access regardless of the alternative. The biggest difference we're seeing right now would be there might be a little more longer period with the bridge closer to where we may have to maintain one lane in each direction versus two lanes in each direction. There's a little more opportunity, like you said, with the Marquette to 11th, where once we open it up, we could have it open to two lanes in each direction. Now, that being said, it would be a short duration period. We're talking maybe a couple months on it, and that's it. One of our early alternatives was a complete reconstruction where we would take the bridge down to its piers, uh, widen out the piers and reconstruct the entire superstructure. That would have required a full closure of the bridge for several years. The community was loud and clear. Such an impact to the community would be detrimental on both sides of the river. That was one of the reasons why we eliminated that in the last round as well. We fully understand this connects both communities. We want to minimize that duration that it impacts the communities. Again, right now when we're doing the work out there, we're down to one lane in each direction through most of the summer when we're doing work. So that's one of the reasons that we're looking at these different alternatives on it, and trying to proceed with something different. But a short duration, one lane in each direction, is not the end of the world, as long as we can get something out there in the end that's going to last many, many decades, which a new construction would allow.
Well, and as you said, I mean, designs still being created, but that in a way, if the new bridge is built, you want to salute the old Centennial Bridge in a way. How would it be an iconic bridge? How would this be a new iconic bridge? I mean, definitely preserve some form of the arches, or what are you looking at?
Well, that's one thing that we're going to want community support as well on, and input. Realistically, the five arches that are out there right now, the reason those are out there was, 1940s technology and the piers being spaced the way they are. Technology today, and steel beams that they are, we're probably not going to need five arches out there anymore. But in the main span, with the riverway and the barge traffic, we're going to need at least one span in the middle that's going to need some sort of arch or some sort of similar structure to carry that load for the main bridge section, because the opening is going to be over 600 foot wide. That would be an opportunity to put an arch out there. Now, again, it wouldn't be five arches, but we could easily get an arch out there or something similar to it. We're going to probably throw out a couple different options to the community as things progress along, get the input on it. The other thing that we've heard of and talked about in the community advisory group and technical advisory group has been, possibly putting an arch design along the railing for the multi-use path and similar things. Another thing that has been brought up again was possibly placing one of the existing arches in the park adjacent to it. We're open to different ideas. Certainly want to hear different ideas on what we can do to help provide for that, paying homage to the existing bridge and helping make this a unique structure in itself.
Later this summer, you're going to have a decision on a preferred route that you're going to present to the public. Where do you go from there then? Because you've gotten the input from the community. It'll be continuous, of course, because construction is going to be in the next decade. But you'll have a preferred route actually by sometime this summer.
Sure. While we'd have a preferred route, there's still a lot of decisions to be made. Again, what's that bridge going to look like? How are we paying homage to it? What are the final minute impacts that bridge is going to have? There's a lot of decisions to be made. Realistically, the alternate route, or the preferred route is, one of the first big steps, but there's a lot of steps to follow. I did inform our community advisory group that once we get this preferred alternative, that doesn't mean the end. It's kind of a beginning of, what do we need to do next? And again, how do we best refine this and finalize this so it does best serve the community?
Our thanks to Illinois Transportation Department Studies Engineer Michael Kuehn. Welcome to June and the unofficial start to summer. We are enjoying these weeks, so let's take a look at some of the hot events you can enjoy in our area thanks to Visit Quad Cities.
Check out the things to do this week in the Quad Cities. Start your week off by visiting the QC Dinner Theater, Circa 21 Dinner Playhouse to watch Fiddler on the Roof. Then enjoy appetizers, cocktails, and live music while watching the sunset on the rooftop of the Up Sky Bar. Join Pride in Motion on a hike every second and fourth Thursday this summer. This week we'll be at Black Hawk State Historic Site. Next, bring your lawn chair because the cast of Fiddler on the Roof will perform on the marquee at Circa 21 Dinner Playhouse. Finally, Second Saturdays are back. Enjoy live music, lawn games, local food, drink, and so much more. For more events like these, check out our events calendar at visitquadcities.com.
Beth Ann Heitgerken started her love of performing while attending high school in Dubuque. It led her to study music at the University of Iowa, and she now lives in Davenport, raising a family and still pursuing her love of music. She joined us as part of WQPT's Chords and Coffee Sessions to perform one of her originals. Here's Beth Ann Heitgerken with Answer Right.
Inspiration often hits like when you're trying to go to sleep and I will have to make myself get up and like write down what I was thinking and maybe go grab an instrument to like figure out a couple of chords so it's more ingrained, or else it just is gone. And I'll wake up in the morning being like, oh, I had that really good song idea and I completely forgot it.
You've been singing and be nice, but you've been drinking. Sometimes I think twice. How much you want me, baby? Now can you answer right? I don't want to be lonely, but you got to have that answer right. You want to get some loving, I can see it in your eyes. Got no way to cover it, you're not one to disguise. How much you want me, baby? Now can you answer right? I don't want to be lonely, but you got to have that answer right. You can tell me anything, I swear I won't mind. I like to hear your thoughts connect them to mine. Now are you waiting for me to make that first move? Oh, 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 what do you want me to do?
It's got kind of a poppy feel, and I guess the lyrics behind it are kind of fun. It's about like being out with a person and wanting to have like a good time and like be flirty and cute, but the other person's just not being flirty and cute. And they might actually be getting on your nerves. So it's kind of about that feeling, which is not very deep, but it's a fun song.
How much you want me, baby? Now can you answer right? I don't want to be lonely, but you got to have that answer right. How much you want me, baby? Can you answer right? I don't want to be lonely, but you got to have that answer right. 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 Oh, you got to have that answer right. Oh, you got to have that answer right. Oh, you got to have that answer right. I got to have that answer right. Got to have that answer right. Got to have that answer right.
Beth Ann Heitgerken with Answer Right. The countdown to the 4th of July continues, and this year's Independence Day is special. It's the 250th birthday of our country. Over the past few months, we've asked Quad City residents about their contributions to our society. What was their civic spark that helped them decide the path they chose? The Quad City Parent Mentor Program, run by Western Illinois University Quad Cities, has expanded to get more parents involved in their children's education. And among the facilitators is Teresa Andrews. So we asked Teresa, what's your civic spark?
I want to put myself in somebody else's shoes. Like, how can I help this person? I want us to do great. I want us to be big. I want us to be known. I want to help as many kids as I can. And that's all of us as a whole. We really want this. This is something we really want. And we're going to be heard.
Our thanks to Teresa Andrews of the Parent Mentor Program, talking about her Civic Spark. On the air, on the radio, on the web, on your mobile device, and streaming on your computer. Thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.